I started using Claudebot as an experiment. It has quickly become one of the most important pieces of technology in my life. And if you haven't heard of Claudebot, it has been going absolutely viral. It is the most personal and capable AI assistant that I have ever seen. It allows you to get real tasks done by connecting the different services that you use like Gmail, Telegram, Asana, Slack. Everything can be connected together and you just chat with your personal assistant, with your Claudebot, directly through whatever chat interface that you want to use. I personally choose Telegram. Claudebot learns about you and continuously gets better. It is truly incredible. But a lot of people still don't know how to use it, and that's what I'm gonna show you today. By the end of this video, you will become a Claudebot expert. But before we can actually use Claudebot, we have to get it set up. And there are a number of different ways to do that. Installing it on your local machine, using external hardware, or what we're gonna be doing today, using a virtual private server. And we're gonna be using Hostinger to do it, who is also the sponsor of today's video. So huge shout out to them. And it is basically one click to get it up and running on Hostinger. So the benefits of using a VPS are super simple to set up. It is always on and it is secure because it is completely isolated from any of your personal devices. And Hostinger is offering 10% off their already cheap VPS service with one-click Claudebot install. All you have to do is use the code MatthewB and go to hostinger.com/MatthewB. I'll drop everything in the description below. All right, and getting it set up with Hostinger is dead simple. You just come to this page. I'll drop the link down below and all you have to do is click deploy. On this page, you can select your time duration, and this is where you're actually going to purchase the VPS. Right here, you can select 1 month, 12 month, 24 month. I'll start with 24 months. And right over here where it says have a coupon code, yes, we do, Matthew B. Apply. And there you go. You get 10% off. Now continue. And there you go. Payment done. Then it's going to bring you to this configuration page. You could put your API key from Anthropic, OpenAI, Gemini, XAI, anything else, and then click deploy. And then you can connect everything else you need by opening up Terminal and going through the OpenClaw onboarding. And of course, all of this is optional. And here you can see we're good to go in Telegram. I said hello and my Claudebot says, hey, what's up? All right, so the first thing to really understand are all the different MD files that you have that really form what this Claudebot is for you. And there are a bunch: heartbeat, identity, memory, soul, tools, and user. So this is the soul.md file. This is basically defining what the personality of your Claudebot is going to be. Feel free to come in here and edit as you see fit. Then we have the skills. This is really what makes Claudebot so incredibly capable. This is where you give it all the skills that help it browse the web, check your email, access Twitter, and all of your custom skills as well. So anything that you tell Claudebot to do that it doesn't already know how to do, it's going to create a skill from that and save it here. You can think of a skill as a repeatable process, anything where you have multiple steps and you're using different tools along the way. And so that's defined here. So we have the humanizer skill, for example, and a whole bunch more in here. And the skills reference tools, and tools are pieces of code that allow it to actually accomplish those things that the skills want to do. So here's an example. Here's asanafetch.js, and it's basically a JS file that allows my agent to plug into Asana really easily and grab information from my Asana board. And again, you don't need to write any of this. It's all done through natural language, through Telegram or WhatsApp or wherever you're using your Claudebot. Then we have the identity file, and it's very similar to Soul in a lot of ways. It basically tells Claudebot how it's actually going to interact with you from a tone and emojis perspective. So we see name, Claude, vibe, emoji, avatar. And so that's what's in the identity file. Claudebot now has a memory folder in which it stores all of its memories about you. And you can just let it store everything. You can always go in there and prune things that you don't think it needs to know anymore. But for the most part, there's no harm in just having it store most of what it learns about you. Then we have the heartbeat file, which basically runs every so often. I think by default, it's every 30 minutes, but it's whatever you want to have happen on a recurring basis. But we also have cron jobs, and I'll get to that in a moment. And again, this entire Claudebot project will grow with you. So as you figure out ways that you want it to run, you just tell it and it will start to learn to do that. All right, so those are all the basics. I want to get into a little bit more advanced stuff now. All right, so next I want to talk about model selection, because that's probably one of the biggest open questions that people have right now is, what model should I be using? What should be the primary model? What should be the fallback model? Should I use multiple models? Do I use a local model? And the answer is Yes, all of it. And I've set up my model routing to be pretty sophisticated, and I want to show you. And the way I want to show you is by asking my Claude So I'm going to say, show me your model selection logic hierarchy. So it's going to read from its own files and show me right now. So the primary model I'm using right now is Claude Sonnet 4.5. And that is because it is a workhorse. It is much cheaper than Opus. And so for the default interaction through chat, that is what I'm using. But I also have a fallback chain. I use Gemini 3 Flash, which is incredibly fast and cheap. I have Opus 4.5 here. I have OpenRouter that I'm using to route to other models that maybe aren't on my initial list. And I was even running local models, but I'm not doing that in this moment. And so you can have local models running for things like cron jobs and other really basic tasks that don't require frontier models. Unless, of course, you can run one of those frontier open source models locally. And there are a few different ways that you can have it select which model it's using. You can simply say in natural language, switch to Sonnet 4.5, hit enter, and it's going to switch to that model for this chat. It will also make a decision about which model it should use at any given time, depending on the task complexity. So we say done back on Sonnet 4.5. You can also type /model. And if you ever get disconnected or you run into a rate limit on one of your models, use /model to show or set the different models that you have. So the way I'm doing it is for anything coding, I'm usually using Sonnet, but if it's an especially complex coding task, I tell it to route to Opus 4.5. For most kind of basic interactions, I'm either using Sonnet. Sometimes I'll switch to Haiku because it's even faster and much cheaper. And of course, I'm experimenting with models all the time. And remember, the model you select definitely affects the personality of your Claude. Now, if you don't care about that, don't even worry about it. Just use any model that's best for your use case. But if you do care about the actual personality, you're probably going to get familiar with one model, and switching is a little bit jarring. Now, Claude packages up everything about its personality, all of your memories, and will send it to each of these models individually. But the way that the models themselves handle all of that and respond to you still will be different depending on the model. Okay, now I want to get into skills and tools. This is really what makes Claude special. This is the thing that sets it apart from any other tool that I've ever used. It just so easily plugs into any service, any product that you're using. I have it plugged into my Gmail, to my Drive, to my calendar, Asana, Slack, HubSpot. A majority of services that I use, I allow Claude to plug into. Now, I'm fairly technical, so I really have thought about the security implications about connecting all of these different services, and I'm doing so in a secure way. I'm going to talk about security later in the video, so be sure to stick around for that. But to plug it into a new service, it is simple. All you have to do is tell it. That's it. It'll look for skills. If it doesn't already have the skill, it will write one itself. You might have to grab an API key from somewhere, but that's about it. You do it all through chat with natural language. And you can even get very sophisticated with your model selection. So I'm a Cursor user, and I installed Cursor Agent in my Hostinger VPS, and I'm actually able to control my Cursor Agent through Claude through Telegram. So anytime that I have a complex coding task, I'm telling my Claude to delegate it out to my Cursor Agent. And it does that. And it's super impressive. Now, the only thing to remember with that is that Cursor Agent has basically no personality. So sometimes when it responds back to you in Telegram that it's done or giving you an update, it basically strips all the personality that you're familiar with. And again, it's a little bit jarring. But feel free to plug in the tools that you're most comfortable with. And I would recommend starting with more low-risk tools. Now, if you want to browse new skills or you want to get inspiration for things that your Claude can do, go to clawhub.com. This is the official Claude skill repository by the Claude creator. So up here, click skills, and you can just see a ton of different skills that are available. Now, keep in mind, these are written by other people. There's always a chance there's some malicious code in there. So what I like to do is tell my Claude go download this, but first scan it, make sure there's nothing malicious in there. And I want to always use the best possible model to do that, because the best possible model is going to be less susceptible to prompt injection. Okay, next, another core mechanic of Claude is it being able to do things for you on a scheduled basis. You can have it be on a recurring basis. You can do a one-off scheduled task, and all of this is going to be done through cron jobs. And if you're not familiar with that term, it basically just means a scheduled thing to do. And you simply just tell it to do so. So in 1 hour, remind me to drink water. I'm going to hit enter, and then it's going to create a cron job for me. And 1 hour from now, it's going to message me back again and tell me to drink water. And these can get as complicated as you want. So for example, one thing that I did was I have kind of a weird trash pickup schedule at my house. It happens every Monday and every other week. It's some rotating recycling. Sometimes it's cans, sometimes it's bottles, sometimes it's paper. And I could never remember what it is. So I actually just told my Claude here's the schedule. I just took a picture of it from the recycling company's website, uploaded it, and say, look at what the schedule is. And every Sunday, I want you to tell me which cans to take out. And now it does that. It tells me exactly which recycling to put out on Sunday. Okay, now I'm going to show you one of the most powerful unlocks that I have found with Claude, and that is using Telegram groups. Now, previously, what I was doing is just DMing with my Claude directly, and that was fine, but we would just have infinite history of conversation. But if I wanted to have multiple tasks running in parallel, it was very difficult. I would say, okay, hold on to that idea. Let me come back to that. And let me switch back to this other task I had you doing. And it was just so complicated. And then I figured out that you can actually use Telegram groups. And with a Telegram group, you can set up different topics. And so you can have a bunch of different conversations going in parallel with your Claude. And that is beneficial in multiple ways. One, you can have a very seamless conversation in each of the topic channels. And that allows you and Claude to stay on topic and not get confused about other things going on. That also saves on context window and memory, because instead of loading up the entire conversation history, which might include days, weeks, even years in the future of conversation history, it loads up only what is in that topic, saving you room in the context window. So here's an example. I have one for video research. I have Twitter research. I have an ebook I'm putting together. We have content analysis. We have a Claude skills topic, and so on. And once I find that I'm done with a conversation or a topic, I go ahead and just delete it. And to do this in Telegram specifically, you just set up a new group, you add Claude as the only user, you make Claude an administrator of that group, and it should just work. And now you also have to tell Claude to reply to every message in the group chat, not just ones that is specifically tagged in, because it's thinking it's going to be in a literal group chat with maybe dozens or hundreds of people. So it's only going to respond to messages that it is specifically tagged in. And you don't want that with this setup. You want it to respond to every single message. So just tell it to do that and it'll update its settings. All right, here's another advanced technique that I use. As you're using Claude a lot, it is storing so many memories about you. It is creating skills and just basically creating all of this potential clutter. And so what I have it do daily, listen to this, set up a daily review of your main files, including agents.md, memory, anything that you can suggest. Then propose changes here and see if I want to make them. Basically, it is a full audit of its code base every single day. So here it says, okay, I'm going to review agents.md, memory.md, tools, soul, identity, user, heartbeat. And then it's going to look for things like outdated info, conflicting rules, undocumented new workflows, lessons from recent failures, etc. And anytime it finds anything that it thinks, hey, I should actually update that or clean that up, it's going to recommend it to me. And then I'm going to decide if I want to move forward with that or not. I definitely recommend doing this just to keep your Claude nice and tidy. And you can also have full multimedia capabilities. So you can have it create videos and images and voice, anything that you want. Here's an example. I have it plugged into Nano Banana, and I'm just going to say, create an image with Nano Banana of a lobster. Okay, so I had to go back and forth with it a little bit, but here it is, picture of a lobster. And again, you can give it voice capabilities with something like 11 Labs. It can read images, just drag and drop in Telegram or whatever chat app you're using. So the capabilities are truly endless. You just need to tell it what you want to do. But now, here's the really important part. Let's talk about security. I have thought a lot about security best practices. I am far from a security expert, so if you have any thoughts about any of these, please drop them in the comments below. So we're going to create a new topic in Telegram, and we're going to call this security. So I will tell it something like never store an API key or token anywhere but a .env file, and never include a .env file in your Git. Now, it should do this automatically, but I like to reinforce that. And so you're going to want all of your API keys, all of your tokens, all in one file, and then you don't want to include it in your Git, because when you push your Git to your GitHub account or you save it somewhere else, you don't want that exposed in the Git history. Now, if a lot of this sounds very technical, don't worry, just type this in and that's all you need to do. Also, OpenClaw ClawBot comes with a security checkup feature. So you simply type OpenClaw Security Audit. So you can do this directly through Telegram, but I'm going to go back to Hostinger's terminal and we're going to do it there. So from the root directory, you're going to type OpenClaw Security Audit and then hit enter. So here it ran a security audit and we see 2 warnings: trusted proxies missing and chmod 700. So go ahead and fix those. And so you can go ahead and fix those by typing OpenClaw Security Audit -- fix. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that, and there, it fixes it automatically for me. Next is just how you're hosting your ClawBot. And that is the beauty of Hostinger. You put it on Hostinger and it is completely isolated from the rest of your environment. It is sitting in its own virtual private server all by itself. It doesn't have access to other things in your keychain on your local computer. It can't just take over your computer and delete a bunch of files. It is all isolated there. And that is super important. The next is I want to explain the concept of clean versus dirty data. Think about anything coming from the internet, anything coming from outside of your completely enclosed system being dirty, meaning somebody, a malicious actor, could be trying to write a prompt injection. Here is an example. If you have your ClawBot reading your emails and somebody knows that your ClawBot is reading your emails, they can send you an email with a prompt injection in the body of the email. So your ClawBot goes to read the email, gets prompt injected, and then reveals sensitive information. And so just keep that in mind. I'm going to say it again. Anytime that your ClawBot is exposed to dirty data, it has the potential to be malicious. So be very wary. And there's a few things to do about that. One, again, just be mindful and try to limit exposure to dirty data. Also, the better model you use, the less susceptible it is to prompt injection. So Opus 4.5 is going to be much less susceptible to prompt injection than Haiku would be. Also, ClawBot has prompt injection detection built in, but it's not perfect. It never will be perfect because that is the nature of AI. Another security tip, make sure you are updating frequently. Just a day ago, OpenClaw updated with a bunch of new security features. Next, don't trust skills. ClawHub has already made a bunch of changes to have better security around skills that people submit, but ultimately that is dirty data. It is somebody submitting a skill, and there were a lot of crypto scams already in the early days. Try not to trust skills for as much as you can. And ultimately, your ClawBot can write any skill that it needs. It doesn't actually have to download a skill from somebody else. So if you can write the skill yourself, if you can have your ClawBot write the skill itself, always do that. And be thoughtful about the integrations that you're adding. If it's something that has highly sensitive data and you really don't want it exposed ever, you want zero chance of that, and it's connected to external services that might be prompt injected, just be very mindful about it. And you can always limit your exposure by limiting the integrations that you're using. But again, the trade-off is capability versus risk. Last, on the security front, for any complex coding task or really any complex task at all, especially if there are going to be changes to files or changes to different integrations that I have, I always have my ClawBot propose what it's going to do before actually doing it. So it's kind of like plan mode. Think about what you want to do. Think about the best way to do it. Tell me what you're going to do, and I'll let you know if I want you to do that thing or not. All right, so all of this is best practices, how to get the most out of ClawBot, but what am I actually using ClaudeBot for? And so I wanted to show a few examples of real use cases that I'm doing and how I set them up. So check this out. So one, I frequently have ideas for video topics, and I have an entire pipeline that I use to track video ideas, to research them. And I basically automated the entire thing with ClaudeBot. And so here's what I do. I drop a link in Telegram, and that link is something I want to talk about, whether it's like an X link about some model release or a website that I wanted to talk about that looks interesting, a video, anything at all. Telegram throws it to ClaudeBot. ClaudeBot does research on that topic using the Brave API. It will also check Twitter for trending tweets about that topic using the Grok API. Then it will output an Asana task for me with all of that information so my entire team can see it at all times. And that ends up in the video ideas bucket in Asana. Super useful. One drop of a link and it's all done for me. Next, I'm frequently checking my YouTube statistics and I want to know how my videos are performing and history of videos. And so I gave my ClaudeBot access to my YouTube data API and analytics API. So I set up a topic in Telegram, like I showed you earlier. I ask in Telegram, okay, give me, the last 3 videos, how are they performing? ClaudeBot goes, fetches via the YouTube API and the analytics API, and it posts back to me in Telegram, and I can actually have it post to Slack and tell my team how specific videos are doing. Very useful, very easy. It's basically like an analyst at all times in Telegram. Next, I have it do meeting prep for me every single day. In the morning, I have it look at my calendar, find all of the meetings, filter by anybody that I'm meeting with that is external, meaning not part of my company, and not just some event that I have to remind myself about. Go look up information about that person, how we met, what the context of the meeting is, and then give me a summary each morning about everybody I'm meeting. And so the way I do that is I have it with a cron job in Telegram each morning. It fetches the Google Calendar. I have it check my Gmail, and I only have it check emails from people that I know. So to keep it very safe and not expose myself to prompt injections. And then I have it report back to me in Telegram. All right, so those are incredibly important automations that I've set up with ClaudeBot. And so that's everything. I know this is a long video. I know there was a lot to it, but this is honestly one of, if not the most useful pieces of artificial intelligence that I've ever used, even more so than ChatGPT. And so that's how to get the most out of it. That's how to set it up with Hostinger and be super secure using a VPS. Thank you again to Hostinger for sponsoring this video. Again, go get your Hostinger VPS, hostinger.com/MatthewB. Make sure to use the code MatthewB. You get 10% off, and it is a one-click install. They've been a great partner. I'll drop all the links down below. Please check it out. It really helps the channel if you go use them. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.